great to be here, and I can see there's lots of energy in this conference, and I'm looking forward to interacting with some of you all after this. I know, we have only 15, 20 minutes over here, so probably won't be able to cover much of the what I have over here today. Happy to speak to you all on the sidelines on some of the issues and challenges that we faced through our click and collect processes and things that, and retail in India specifically. So they've asked me to speak about retail in India, so I've got a couple of slides on that, and then also speak specifically about click and collect as it pertains to the retail that we've been doing in India. So I guess that's a huge topic. I don't know how I'm going to cover that, but let me get started by first telling you what Jubilant Retail is all about. We're a hypermarket retailer, so we're like a Target or a Walmart of India. We have 100,000 square foot stores, so big box stores. We sell everything from meat to liquor to apparel to, anything that you get in a Target essentially. So, and so for us, click and collect was, so we're a traditional, sort of bricks and mortar, old line, old world type of a business, and we've tried to get into, a click and collect and the whole .com space. Let me get started just quickly telling you about retail in India. It's growing quite amazingly. Growth rates are something like 12% year on year. But what is important to note over here is that it splits into what we call as organized and unorganized retail. Unorganized is the typical mom and pop shops. The organized part of retail is growing at something like 20 to 25% year on year. So it's quite amazing growth rates in terms of retail. And it's about $600 billion already. So it's a fairly large size industry that's growing very rapidly for, let's say the organized players, the players that are coming in from out of the country or even domestic participants who are, thinking of retail a little bit differently. Some of the characteristics, it's fragmented. Only 8 to 10% of retail is within the organized sector. The rest is all mom and pop shops. So there's lots of opportunity for new players to come in and participate in India. So great times ahead for anybody interested in coming here. It's unfortunately subscale and inefficient. So the largest retailer in India is less than 1% of sales. And it's very inefficient in parts, but quite efficient when you think of certain processes, which presents a lot of challenges and lots of opportunities. So if some of you all have, any capabilities that you think can help in helping retailers get more sophisticated, India is a great opportunity and a great marketplace because of the growth of the sector in India, as well as the lack of capabilities currently for you guys to be able to come in and sell in India some of your capabilities and really help us. So I invite you to come to India and do that if some of you all are considering that. Unfortunately, it's characterized by low margins and high capital costs, so it makes it a little difficult for us in India because of the competitive nature of the sector. And e-commerce is gaining traction. That's another point that I just want to mention, that around the world it's gaining traction. That's also reflected in India. The last point I want to say is that we went through an era of blind bullishness, which is something like the e-commerce craze of the 2000s of the world, and that is behind us. So all of us in India today are thinking about building profitable business models. So again, the country and participants in the country are looking for capabilities that can help Indian retailers get more efficient and get scaled up much more efficiently in the near term. Okay. E-commerce, as I said, is gaining traction, significant growth, 30-40% growth rates in e-commerce, product-based e-commerce growing at 50% per year, which is quite amazing. So, and it's also quite fairly large, so it's reached about 60 to 70 billion dollars. It's currently about 20 billion, but reaching 60 to 70 billion dollars in the sort of near term. So great opportunity in terms of e-commerce. The other point is that there's lots of activity going on in India where they're buying also from international markets and getting it delivered in India. So the crates and barrels of the world and so on and so forth have started delivering to India, and that I think is going to continue to accelerate as well. So that presents a lot of opportunities from logistics and order management process as well. The craze is on big time in India, right? Flipkart, which is one of the big e-commerce sites, is just looking to raise $800 million. They're talking about a valuation of $15 billion. Snapdeal valuation of $5 billion. And these are all small companies that have less than $1 billion of sales. So some of the valuations that we are seeing over there are quite crazy, and therefore all the froth is still on. But considering the froth is on, it's actually really, the fundamentals of the business are such that it will continue to succeed, and it will succeed, albeit there's a bunch of froth right now. Ola Cabs, this is the company that competes with Uber, just got a $2 billion valuation on, non-existent sales actually. And this is the same case with a bunch of companies in India, right? However, that being said, with all its froth, omni-channel is here to stay, and it's here to stay in India as well, right? Significant traction by online players. There's been superior funding for them. There's a bunch of American and global private equity funds and venture capital funds that have invested substantial dollars in the Indian market in e-commerce, and therefore, with the funds that they have, they're able to go out and command advertising rates and command pricing that some of us traditional retailers are not able to do, and that's going to continue to be there, I think, in the near term. And so therefore, that's something that they have as an advantage, at least in the near term, right? Increasing penetration of internet and mobile. This is a phenomenon that we are seeing across the world, and it's also there in India. Today, something like BCG came out with a report that something like 20% of Indians have access to the internet already, right? And that's fairly large. We're a country of 1.2 billion people, so that's a fairly large number, and that's possibly going to be growing in the near term. The next point is actually an interesting point in India, which is the concept of COD, which is a enabling function of e-commerce in India, cash on delivery. And the concept here is that you order online and you don't pay for it online. It comes to your house and then you pay cash to the guy that comes and delivers it, which is a phenomenally sort of, let's say, enabling capability, because the guy who's purchasing it online is not scared about the product that they're buying and or giving the credit card information and things like that. And therefore, they just pick it up, they buy it online, and you come over there. They, in fact, have an opportunity to test the product, or at least see the product, and make sure it complies with the specifications as were laid out on the website, right? Today, I would say something like 40 to 50% of sales in India is cash on delivery, right? And that has implications on competitors, because it means that 3 guys in a garage can set up an e-commerce site and deliver product, because the customer doesn't have to be concerned that the product is going to comply with the specifications, or the customer doesn't have to be concerned about credit card information and things like that, right? So that's there. And then the last point is that lack of options, so lack of traditional retailers in Tier 2 and Tier 3 and Tier 4 in rural areas means that e-commerce will continue to grow in scale and size in India as we move forward, right? So we are dealing with this phenomenon, we're dealing with this concept, and as a traditional bricks and mortar retailer, for us, it's important to start thinking about what we are going to do about it. And for us, the first step, I know the gentleman over there from eBay said that click and collect is not probably the right thing to do first, but we decided to do that first, because we felt that would, we couldn't deal with the shipping challenges that were out there. And so we said, listen, let's get on click and collect first. So that's what we went out and did. The demand is there, customers are demanding it, and we think that it could, significantly increase sales, which it has done. We've launched it in a pilot sort of concept. But there are some challenges, and I just want to highlight a few of them, right? The first one is the concept of cannibalization. We've had this huge issue. I know we spoke about 50% of sales coming from e-commerce with high 30% attach rates. But for us, click and collect for us is actually more like drive-through. So they come they come to the shopping mall actually. Because we are a big store, right? So, the whole concept is convenience. You don't want the customer doesn't want to come inside, shop a 100,000 square foot store, stand in lines and checkouts, and that's the reason why they're doing click and collect, right? So for us, the challenge has always been that our store managers keep telling me that, listen, if you do click and collect, we will be cannibalizing our sales, because people will not be coming into the store. They'll just pick up whatever they want to online, and then they'll leave, right? So that's been a big hurdle to pass over, and As we think about .com as well, that's going to be a big challenge as well, because the whole point about a hypermarket operator like us is you tend to have low prices on essential commodities, and you try to attract the customer into the store, and then you try to cross-sell them as they're in the store with other products that you display very nicely. And if that is going to be threatened, then profitability for the company might be threatened, right? Pricing, you spoke about it, which is, how do you sort of make sure that pricing online, pricing in the store, and the different stores is accurate, right? And inventory related to that. Also, picking and packing capabilities. As customers are shopping the store, how do you make sure that, your guys are going out and picking efficiently and packing them adequately? So that's a big challenge. And then lastly, marketing and branding. This is something that gets, understated, I think, in which we have to recognize that Click and Collect and .com, needs the attention that it needs to get, right? And a lot of companies, at least in India, have not given it the attention that it requires. So we need to be out there and invest in branding, invest in marketing, to be able to attract customers to go online, to be able to attract customers to go to Click and Collect, and utilize those capabilities and not think that just because it's a convenience, they're going to do that, right? So it requires a concerted effort. I've just got one last page, which is, for me, the roadmap, right? So if some of you are thinking of Click and Collect or thinking of challenges around Click and Collect, we've sort of went through the roadmap in terms of what needs to be done to get it done. First is to get internal organizational commitment. I mean, I think that is half the battle. And you have to be able to ensure that you have the commitment of the store people, because if you don't have the commitment of the store people, this is not going to happen, right? They're going to fight it as much as they can, right? The next was, we said one of the core critical success factors for us was to create a separate team that was aligned, incentivized, motivated to be able to pilot the program. So not doing it within the existing structure of the organization, but also having a separate team that piloted and drove it from a program management standpoint. Next is obtain the capabilities. Unfortunately, a lot of us traditional retailers don't have the capabilities, whether it's the logistics capabilities, the picking and packing, the technology, the .com capabilities. We didn't have it. We don't have it, right? So the question is, can we outsource it? And that's a big challenge. A lot of companies don't do that. And they try to build it themselves, they try to build everything themselves, and it tends to be a big challenge and a big issue. So that's something that we need to be cognizant of. And for us, very early, we said, listen, let's focus on our core business, and if we can get folks to help us out in building the websites and doing the technologies and the helping us with the logistics and the picking and packing and things like that, let's try to see if we can get some of them to do that, right? Next point is pilot the program, measure the benefits. Important thing is measurement, right? If you don't measure it, it doesn't get done. So you have to measure it, and you have to continuously keep rewarding people based on those measures. I said invest in branding and market the concept. And then the last point is that it's just one step in this whole omni-channel play. I think we are all believers over here in this whole omni-channel play, but the whole world are not believers in this, right? And you have a lot of retailers, especially traditional brick and mortar retailers, that are saying, listen, we are just dealing with our existing problems. We're doing the blocking and tackling in our existing business. And this comes in and creates a whole bunch of complexity for us. And we don't have the capabilities to go out and do that. But fundamentally, I think that this is just one step in that omni-channel play. And all of us have to get on the bandwagon over there. And then the last point is just stay committed and continue to reap the rewards, the rewards of this. And the rewards can be quite amazing, both from a customer adoption and a customer standpoint in terms of valuing the convenience, but also from a sales growth and a sales improvement standpoint and a margin improvement standpoint for us as well. Thanks. Yeah.
Any questions for Raman? We did have one that came in. Was there any cultural trends or demographic trends that helped shape how you made decisions about implementing Click and Collect?
Yeah, I think every market is different, right? Different people are comfortable with sharing different types of information depending on the cultural environment. Like I said, in India, one of the big challenges is that people are not willing to share credit card information online. So you have to figure out how do you go about doing that and ensuring that you have a solution for that as well. And you know, you will always have challenges and issues in specific countries, but that was one of the biggest ones that we faced over there in India. Right. Thanks. Thank you.
Raman, how do you think about profitability of click and collect versus your normal store sales? You know, I can't help but think about the incremental labor that we're converting from what a customer used to do
Right.
to what we're now going to do for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a very good question, and that was one of the biggest challenges we faced, right? Which is, you know, getting the store people to agree to allocate resources to do click and collect, and sort of take away or cannibalize resources from the existing jobs that they were doing, and then therefore, how do you determine profitability? The fundamental belief that we had, or at least we went in with, was we said that this is incremental sales and incremental profitability. That's the way we have to look at it. So the cost of that incremental sales may be higher than, you know, sales that we're getting at the store, but we felt that if we didn't do that, we would not get that sales, right? So we're looking at gross profits and margins, you know, and we said that's incremental, you know, dollar value margins that we were generating. And that's how we were able to justify it internally. But that is the number one challenge that we faced up front, and we continue to face today, which is convincing people that it's incremental sales and it's not sales that, you know, I mean, from their perspective, actually, it was cannibalization of sales. They said, listen, you know, first of all, it's going to cost us more money to do this, and secondly, you're actually taking away sales from the store because, you know, you're not able to sell them all the other products that go along with the basket, right? But, you know, it was a difficult process to do that, but I fundamentally believe that it's incremental, and therefore that's the way we look at profitability. But it's a big challenge. You've hit the nail on the head on that. Superb question. Yeah.
Did you see a change in your average order value when versus in-store versus
Yeah.
online?
And this was the strange thing. We thought click and collect people would use it for convenience, you know. So we felt that the order value would be much lower, that we'd see consumers coming in and just picking up stuff for convenience because they just want a, you know, milk or something like that, right? Or a bottle of wine or something. And we were delighted in some ways to find exactly the opposite. We found that the basket had actually gone up significantly higher. And part of that could be that, you know, when you're on the website and you're buying, you tend to sort of say, okay, let me add milk and eggs, and oh, I forgot about, you know that whatever, you know, for my baby and whatever you want to. And the other thing that we found is people were increasing the size of certain items. So for instance, let me give an example. If they were going to buy a kg of rice, right? With click and collect, we saw that they said, listen, let's upgrade to 25 kgs of rice because, you know, it's a drive-through. You open the trunk, and we put in the bag into your trunk, and you leave, right? So the convenience of that capability, as opposed to going into the store, picking up a 25 kg bag of rice, or that, you know, 24 can of Coke, or, you know, that water that you wanted to buy, which makes it more difficult. We found that click and collect actually increased the ticket size quite drastically. Yeah.
And we're doing this in Canada.
Right.
We've seen our basket size go up 2.5 times.
Wow.
Versus shopping in store. And talk about incremental sales. We have a loyalty program. 70% of our orders are incremental sales.
Wow.
So we're only cannibalizing 30%. So we've only piloted 3 stores, and we're just seeing
Yeah.
tremendous.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Good. Superb. Thank you very much. Yeah.